Hello, my friend. It's Pat Sloan here for our fireside chat, which is in the evening video. So it's Scrap-a-licious Day. I think that's going to be my name for talking about working with scraps because it just is a fun name. Years ago, somebody sent me the book, one of the books from Pink-a-licious. So I just think that Scrap-a-licious is, it's just the way it should be, right? That's what it should be. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So let's talk about a couple of things that I've been thinking about. One is that working with your scraps takes time. That's like a whole project. It's not like something you just do like magically, like fairy dust and it's appearing. No, it's something you work on just as if you are working with your regular fabric. It's just you're working with random colors and, you know, random amounts of things. That's the key thing, random amounts of different pieces of fabric. So a couple that I have going on that I should actively be working on is the red and white squares. So what I have is I'm doing them in smaller units. Here, let me show you. I am doing, come on. So I'm doing blocks this size, which is a 4x4. So I have the 4x4, and when I get 4 of these, then I build another 4x4. These units are nice to work with because then they're easier to sew together. I feel like they're not a struggle, and I'll get these bigger chunks done, and as bigger chunks done, then I'll probably do them into rows and then sew rows. How big is this going to be? Probably a lap size, something that can go on the back of my sofa. That's, it could be cuddled up in, but I want it to be a visual, the color to be there. That's, my goal. I could just do a long skinny one and put it on the back, but I'd rather make it something usable. The other thing I got out was the blocks from the old school that I'm doing, these strip blocks from the old school block of the month. These are pretty cool. Like I haven't made any more recently, but I do have strips ready to go, and so I'm thinking that I will go ahead and get some of these out and be sewing them while I'm doing the checkerboard, the red, white, and blue checkerboard. So I would have these two things. So I'm not doing any crumb blocks right now, because you can only do so much. Plus I have other projects going on, ones like behind the scenes that you don't even know about yet. So there's time being spent doing other things. Let me stick that back up there. Now remember, I also had those in the blue colorway. Here we go. So I have them in this blue with some pinks, but I don't have as many of those blocks made. So I'm going to concentrate for that one on the red, like a light, then with reds, some browns, some black, and see if I can get those to a lap size, and then I can sew that one up. And I believe I am going to just sew them side by side like that. I'm not going to do anything else. I really like that weave, that effect of a weave that happens. So that's pretty fun. Now my bin in the rolling assistant here, let's take a look at this. The bin has gotten it's very full. A lot of this is strip oriented, so I was trying to keep it very strip oriented. Like I even cut a whole bunch of strips the one night. So see, I've got all of these light strips because I didn't really have that many light strips. So I have just been storing them in there, so that's not good. That's not good. The squares are over here in this little basket. That's where the squares go. And they're already cut because I cut 2.5-inch squares all the time anyways. But the strips are fabrics that I've been working with other projects, or just removing some projects from my, not removing, but clearing out fabrics. Maybe there's little pieces in a bucket, and I'm like, okay, let's just put this into the scrap bin. But I can't deal with lots of scraps. I don't have any space for it. I'm not making those on a regular basis, so I need to this is a 1-year experiment, remember, for me to see what kind of scraps I produce and then how much I can make with them for the year. Now, when I was working with, like when I would do a book, I often I usually send a bunch of fabric that I use for the book along with the quilts, so that to the publisher. And then when the publisher is working with the project, if they decide, oh, it'd be really nice to have a little cushion in the corner of a sofa with the same fabric Pat used in the table runner or in the quilt, and so I send them some fabric so they could do that if they wanted to. And when the book is published and the projects come back, well, that fabric comes back. And so I had to go through that fabric from the holiday book and decide what I was going to keep and all that kind of stuff, which ended up meaning, plus I had some like other fabrics. So pretty much I have this whole stack here. And I was looking at it. I thought, you know, it's kind of pretty. There's like a lot of the colors are kind of pretty. I took out, you can see on the table over there. Can you? No, probably the chair's in the way. There's just a small stack of other colors on the table that, you know, just a little stack that I took away. So I looked at this and I thought, what could I do with this? And I thought, well, you know, I could just give it to my friend who then they do a lot of different projects. But I thought, well, what if I just took a look at it and saw whether I could use some of the dies that I got, particularly the cube from the Go Cutter. So this is an experiment because remember the AccuQuilts are new. They're my new office assistants. And so I wanted to use the electric one to give it a try, which is, I can do the bigger blocks. The small one can just do smaller shapes. So in this particular cube, there are a lot of different, all these different dies that come with this cube. And then you get all of these different patterns. So there's a lot of patterns. And I went through and I found one that I thought, well, I would like to make that pattern. So I found this one, which uses dies that can go in the small machine or the big machine. Whoops, I'm sorry. There you go, it's easier to see it here. So this uses all of the dies that come in the big cube, the 12-inch cube, the mix and match. Now the dies, remember, come in these containers. And let me see, don't have a lot of space down here. Okay, so the bigger one, I showed you the smaller unit the other day, and the big unit is just the same, but the dies are bigger. So I can get, when you're working on this particular pattern, there are these big, like sort of flying geese units, and they come, their die looks like this. So you're cutting 4 at a time, which is why the die is larger. So you need the machine that can use this size dies. But it's cool as you get 4 at a time, which is fabulous, rather than doing just 1 at a time, which I love. Anytime you can do multiples, particularly if you're trying to sort of work through a project. So what I decided to make a block to see what this looks like. So ta-da! Here is the block. Let me just bring you up here for a second. So I did this block that's on that picture, which they're calling the mosaic. So I thought that scrap bin, I had a few of these. Actually, I have like 800 yards of this. Now you all believe me when I say 800. It's not really 800, but I have yardage of this. So I thought, well, why don't I make a lap size quilt with making it scrappy, make as much as I can, and similar colors from what I have going on. So I was able to get, well, probably I'm able to get maybe 6 blocks. Let's see, I'll show you what I have cut. So from what I already had of that bathing suit fabric, I cut that and some other blue. There's a one with roses. So these are that center. Here, let's put this here. So that's the center of this guy. And then I have, this is my Morrison Park, so I have quite a bit of that. So I could actually do all of these with Morrison Park, which would be really nice. So I think that would keep it consistent and fun. Now the outer here is this aqua, which I have, it was a backing, so I have quite a bit that I had cut off, and then some other little extra pieces. So they don't all have to have this on all the blocks, but I'm thinking if I did 12 blocks or 20 blocks, maybe probably 20 blocks, that would be good. And I will have enough of the blue to keep it consistent. So they'll all have that blue, unless I mix it up. I couldn't mix it up. Now this was a scrap, so all I have is what I was able to cut out. And I think I might even be one short of doing, so one of them, I might mix it up and have 2 blocks with, you know, or a block with all different ones, something like that. That's my goal. I thought this would be a really fun project to use the dies to cut up what I have. I know a couple of you asked me, would I do a sew along where all the blocks came from something like the cube here, so that you have, if you have the cube or you've been wanting to buy the cube, then every block would also be able to use this. I would give you directions to use it with your ruler, of course. That would be the primary way, but for those of you who also have a cube, you would have a way to cut the shapes. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that in the fall, where we're going to do a 9. We'll probably just do a 9 blocks at the end of this year. When summer soiree is done, then we'll do one that follows it to wrap up the year, and usually they're about 9 blocks. So I think that would be really cool. Take the 9 blocks all for ones that can be done with this cube. So if you like that idea, because I know a lot of you have the AccuQuilt and a lot of you want to get it, so just let me know if that's interesting, because you don't have to have it. I will show you, I will give you the patterns the regular way too. These are, you know, these are a tool, just like you have a rotary cutter and a mat. Instead you use the die cut. Fun, fun, fun. So I am loving this block. It feels so summery, of course, because of course there's a bathing suit in the middle. Oh, this was what I got left over too when I was cutting. So it's not very much. It's great. It's you can cut frugally or not frugally depending on your personality. There's a lot about die cuts machines that's very, very flexible. Okay, let's do a mail call. I had 2 presents of the selvages, and this first one was from Barb, I think. Yes, Barb sent me a whole package. So tidy. Look how tidy and neat she is. I am never that neat. And then a bunch of, and then some other extra ones that have really cute little edges on them in here. And then Regina sent me this beautiful card. Look at that. It looks like a hydrangea to me. I think it's gorgeous, because you know I put that hydrangea in this year, which is now my favorite flower. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Barb. Look what Regina sent. Packages and packages that she has collected up and decided she was not going to use anything. So I now have those to add to my box. Oh, there is the background color that I'm going to use. Underneath here is a whole, this box is the Sew Sampler boxes. I'm gonna have to start a second one because this is pretty full. So when I start this project, I will be using this red sort of textured fabric and all the selvages. And I keep the box up on behind my sign there. So I'm gonna have to start a second box. So I know it takes quite a bit of these to do any block because you're layering them and they're not that wide, the visual part of it. It's probably, what, like 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch that you see. So it does take quite a few of them. So thank you, thank you. Okay, let's look at my Hope quilt. I got the binding on, yay! But this was an experiment again. Let's explore. I'm exploring in the ditch binding by machine, which means I'm pulling it to the, I'm sewing it on the front, pulling it to the back like you would do for hand binding, like most people do for hand binding. But then instead I'm going in the ditch on the front and catching the back. So let me show you. Here is the front. So you can see that I am stitching in the ditch, right? Just right on the edge. You can sort of see it there. With black, because the binding is black, because when I pull it over to the back side, let me just pull it over here, there we go. So the back side, it is stitching on the top, and you can see there's a little flap. It flaps over because I'm not securing that folded under edge, I'm sewing on top of it. So this is the 4th time that I've tried this, and I think for this time what I did was I was super diligent pressing it open and then folding it and pressing again with a lot of steam and being sure that it's super pulled over. The problem was I pulled it too far. Often what I did, not often, I did it in like 3 places, which were the worst, was I pulled it too far. I kept this binder clip here because what happened was I didn't catch enough. I didn't catch it far enough down. So you can see that the turned under flap is revealed, you know, so that's not good because if you wash this, that's going to sort of, you know, open up. So I have to hand stitch this section down. I had to hand stitch 3 sections this time, which was less than the last times. So on number 4, we're doing good. So what that means now is the next time I do this, when I'm pulling it over and pressing it here, I need to be really looking at how far over it goes from the sewn seam. Eventually I'll do a video on this because I just want to get all the kinks worked out. I want to figure out all the little things like I'm doing right now so I can tell you. This time I did not glue any of it, not even the corners. I decided to try that because see, there's lots of ways you can accomplish this. So like here's my label corner, and I did not glue it at all. I could have glued it. Some people will glue the whole thing. Some people will binder clip the whole thing. This time I attacked it with pressing, and I sort of just kept my finger so that I was checking that I was keeping it flat and not letting it flip up. You're working blind because you're sewing on the front and you're trying to catch this back properly. And that's where the practice comes in. It's just about practice. And I'm excited that at number 4, I'm getting very, very close. I'm sort of getting to the point where I know now what technique, you know, what part of it I need to be more careful on or more, you know, pay more attention to. So that's good. That's good. It's exciting because I like the look of it. When I use a stripe, this is much prettier on the front, and I don't mind seeing that straight line on the back. If I'm doing it by machine on the front to the front and I blanket stitch it, I see the blanket stitch. So for me, because I'm going to do it by machine, I am going to see the stitching. So it's more of, you know, what makes the binding look prettier. There you go. There you go. That is my adventure, my exploring of the In the Ditch binding. All right, the old school block of the month was released today, and it is from my friend Kim Needs Wiki. So she sent me a sneak peek picture. Here it is. And you go to my website, link is below to my website today. I will link you over to where you can download this from her website. Kim is called Go Kim, and she really does. Kim and I have been friends for eons. She lives just a few towns south of me, which would take like an hour to get there, or maybe longer, depending on traffic. It's close, but we live in a very populated area, so it takes a while to get anywhere. I generally see her at the trade shows. But you will love, if you've not followed Kim, she does a lot of garment making. And speaking of the salvages, Kim has done a whole skirt with these. It's fabulous, just fabulous. Very twirly skirt. You know, that she has a crinoline under. I think she wears a crinoline under it. Just fabulous. She just loves to do clothing. She loves vintage clothing and to make patterns, make clothing from vintage patterns for clothing. So if you want to go out and visit her, links are below, and while you're there, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Remember, it helps me and it helps you so that you can find my channel and you know when the new videos are. Okay, I wanted to show you a little variegated thread. So let me go and get that ladybug for you. Hold on a second. When I was going through the quilts, I found the ladybugs, and I was looking at the stitching on it and realized I had done this wonderful Orfil variegated thread on the pieces. Look how cool that is. Well, here you can see there's the big ladybug, and then there's a table runner. Now honestly, I don't remember. I think this is from a book. It could have been from a magazine, but I'm going to have to go through my books. It would have been one of my leisure arts books from quite a few years ago. And if it's in the book, when I put it in the gallery, or if I find it, I'll put it down below. But I wanted you to see the variegated thread. See how it is? I did everything with it. And it just gives that little extra spark. So if you are not using variegated thread, you really should try a spool for your blanket stitch applique, because it is so cool. You mean you can machine quilt with it too, and that's also fun. Gives a really neat look. So the last thing I have, two last things. One, maybe three last things. One is that the service I use to share your quilt photos. One is the service that I use to share the photos at my website has a 1 year cycle on that share bucket. And so I had to create a new one. So you'll see that. It's a brand new one, and you won't see the older things. And I'll have to put both of them in there so you can see. Next year I will start it at the beginning of the year. I will start one so it'll be like the whole year. And we just use the same one over and over again. Okay, also I am working on my monthly markings cross stitch. Ta-da! So right now I'm doing the July, which is the Bees Kept. And I have to say, I really love this Pink Flamingo needle minder because it's lightweight. And some of the other ones are pretty heavy needle minders, and this one's very lightweight. So it works really well with the cross stitch because I'm doing this in my hand. So there you can see where I'm going. Now also, I have to fix this top. No, fix. I have to adjust, or yeah, fix. I forgot a section. When I was doing this top part, there was a little bit of this little sparkly here, like right this section here. I missed a section. I just, you know, skipped over it. And so I have to add it back in to get it in sync. And so I will be adding a little sparkly bit here to bring it to where it's supposed to be. And then I'll get the words done for under July. So I'm kind of happy with that. I've got it out on my table, which seems to be the key for me. If I keep it out on the table, you can see there. See, I've got all the mess I just threw over there. But that's where the cross stitch is, keeping it there. Plus, I know you've been waiting to hear the second installment of the chicken sandwich crusade. Greg and I went and taste tested the chicken at Burger King, which actually was pretty darn good. So we've done Popeyes and we've done Burger King's chicken sandwich. Now you have to be aware, if you're going to order that at Burger King, they say mild or spicy. And so we decided to get one of each. And I opened mine. I told Greg, you know, Greg doesn't like messy sandwiches at all. If it's messy, it's not his thing. So I opened mine. I'm like, oh, mine said spicy. I'm like, okay, I have the spicy one. And he opened his and he goes, I don't think so. He goes, I think I have it. And it was very messy because it was the sauce. It's a sauce that makes it spicy. So we traded because I don't mind that and I really like that kind of stuff. And I loved the sauce on it, the spicy one. I loved it. So we were, they're not very different, but I think the Popeyes one was a bit bigger sandwich. The chicken was a bit bigger piece of chicken, and it didn't have that messy, it didn't have any sauces, I don't think, on it at all. But they're both good. I kind of like the Burger King one right now better. So we'll have to pick another place to try. We might try McDonald's one. I know I'm going to like Chick-fil-A because I really like the breading on Chick-fil-A. So there you go. All the sandwich news is to be had. Okay, I am going to work on my old school block of the month from my buddy Kim, and be playing around with the scrap stuff in my sort of extra spare time. Maybe I need to make a goal every day of like 15 minutes of scrap sewing. That sounds like a good goal, right? So I love you. Mwah. See you online.